I think everyone has the capacity to do great things, to rise above their everyday lives. They just need a little push now and then. Hey everyone, so today I'm going to be talking about Age of Myth. This is the first book in the Legends of the First Empire series by Michael J. Sullivan. This is a prequel series to R'yar Revelations and R'yar Chronicles. It takes place 3,000 years before those events happen. In fact, Age of Myth, the title, is a reference to other fantasy series such as Lord of the Rings or Wheel of Time, where they say history becomes legend, legend becomes myth, and things that should have been remembered have been forgotten. So this is referencing, obviously, the Age of Myth. So right before things have been forgotten, but at this point it's so long ago that there's really no correlation to what people think happened in R'yar versus what actually happened during this time frame. If you're looking to get into reading Michael J. Sullivan's books and you don't know where to start, this is one option. The other ideal option in my mind is publication order, which would be starting with R'yar Revelations. If you have the omnibus version, that's going to be Theft of Swords. Speaking of R'yar Revelations, stick around till the end of the video where I will be announcing a giveaway for the entire R'yar Revelations series. Back to the review, and this shouldn't take all that long. The book is extremely simple. Just like Theft of Swords, this is very much introductory fantasy, and he does this intentionally. He doesn't want there to be a huge learning curve to be able to read any of his novels. He doesn't want people to have to take notes or to struggle to figure out what's going on. So everything is really straightforward and simple, and the complexity gets added throughout the series, but it's never overwhelming, and the first books in the series are always very simple. So if you're new to fantasy, this is another great place to start. And this is a series that you can really read with your children, with your grandma. Anyone can appreciate these series, and you won't be embarrassed by any of the situations that he's writing about. So, like I said, it's a simple book, so I'll keep the review pretty simple. The setup of this book is you have elves, dwarves, humans, pretty typical in fantasy series, and the elves can live about 3,000 years long. Humans, a century is pretty much at the top, and during this time period, that's not likely either. The elves are basically the ruling species. They've allowed humans to live on a relatively small piece of land, and it is against their laws for humans to venture into their territory. And humans, because they've never seen an elf die or can even tell if one ever ages because of how long they live, think that the elves are gods, because they, besides the long lives, they can also hear better, they move faster, they can see better. Just all of their senses are better than what humans are, and like I said to begin with, much longer lives. So humans think they're gods. Now among the elves, there's a group of them that can use magic, and they're kind of drinking their own Kool-Aid, where they're starting to feel good about themselves and thinking, you know what, maybe we are gods. Not just gods for the humans, we're gods above the rest of the elves. So you have humans that are below second-class citizens. They're basically animals in the elves' minds. Then you have most of the elven classes, including the warrior classes and like craftsmen. And then you have the magicians thinking that they're up above everyone else, and it's their right to rule everyone. You also have dwarves in this land, but they're not really in this book at all. They get introduced later on in the series in an effort, again, to keep the beginning simple. You just have to focus on elves and humans. The first scene of the book is a couple humans cross over into the elvish territory. One detail I really liked was that they were carrying with them a copper sword. And this was a big deal because swords were extremely rare back then. That they were the only family in their tribe to have a sword, and it was a huge honor. And I did a little bit of research, and it looks like copper swords were used around 3000 BC, and they weren't replaced with iron swords until around 1000 BC, and it was even later before steel swords were used. So personally, I felt this was a great detail to add to show that these events are taking place 3,000 years before Rye era, and technology at that time reflects that. All right, so back to what I was saying before. Humans cross over into the elven territory. An elf sees them, isn't happy that they're there. Events unfold, and one of the humans manages to kill an elf. This is a huge, for lack of a better term, revelation. Humans can kill elves. They must not be gods. Well, obviously, the elves aren't happy about a human killing one of them, so they go on the attack, and the humans, you have some humans that are absolutely terrified, thinking the elves are still gods, but then others are saying, well, if a human can kill them, they must not be a god, so why don't we fight back? So that's ultimately what this book comes down to, is a group of people trying to convince the humans that they can fight back against the elves and actually win. On to characters, and this, even though I'm more of a plot-driven reader, this was really important to me that he got this right, because I was a huge fan of Royce and Hadrian and their banter, and not having them in this book was certainly a concern for me. So you have two main duos that you follow in this book. There's Wraith and Malcolm, and you could kind of say that this duo is the Royce and Hadrian replacement, but they are not copies of the same personality, just with different names. Wraith is similar to Royce in that he doesn't want to have anything to do with anyone else. He just wants to go about his business and do what he's doing and be left alone. However, the big difference between them is that Wraith has a conscience, much more so than Royce does. Royce wants to solve everything by killing people, especially early on. Wraith is not like that. He just wants to be left alone, and when he sees something wrong, he does step up and act. So there are definitely differences between them. Malcolm is kind of like Hadrian in that he is very much an optimist and just, oh, things are gonna work out. Other than that, they're not all that similar. Hadrian is a warrior, and as it's said in Revelations and I think Chronicles, he could beat anyone in a fair fight. Malcolm's not really a fighter. When you meet him, he's a slave. And if you listen to what he says, he seems like he's completely useless. But then if you watch what he does, he tends to be in the right spot at the right time. So I have a feeling he's going to play a much bigger role by the time this series is over. The other duo you follow are Persephone and Suri. Persephone is a chieftain's wife, and she's portrayed as being strong and intelligent and just a natural born leader. The problem I had with Persephone is when you meet her, her son had just died before the events of the book even happened. And at no point is she really grieving throughout this book, which didn't seem realistic to me. Now, granted, this is 3,000 years before the events of Rye era. Unfortunately, people losing kids during that time wouldn't have been all that uncommon, but you still expect more grief than what she shows. And then she's also supposed to be really intelligent, and there's just some things happening that's like, how do you not see this? It's obvious. Which, again, he writes his books so that they're very simple, so it should be obvious for the reader to know what's going on. It just amazes me that she wouldn't have had any idea what was going on either. The last character I want to talk about is Suri. She's probably my favorite character in this book. She is a young girl who doesn't have any parents that she knows of, and was raised in the woods by a mystic, and the mystic passed away, again, before the events of the book happened, so she takes on the role of being a mystic. And you meet her when she comes to Persephone, and she says, "We're all gonna die," and explains, "No, I don't mean everyone here. I mean all people are going to die. I don't know when, I don't know how. Maybe the trees have more information, but they're sleeping right now, so we'll have to talk to them later." Clearly a very interesting character. More often than not, she is the smartest person in whatever room she's in, and just really fun to be around too. And she has an animal companion, so that's always a huge plus. Because of her past, she does look at things significantly differently than others do, so that creates some fun banter. And there's also pretty good banter between Wraith and Malcolm I didn't mention. It's not at the level of Royce and Hadrian, but it's still pretty good. So overall, I did enjoy the characters' relationships with each other. I felt Persephone didn't quite work for me, and Malcolm made me curious. Wraith was in my mind, he was your average brooding hero, and then Suri was really entertaining. Before I give you my rating for Age of Myth, let's circle back to the Rhaenyra Revelations giveaway. If you want to be entered into this giveaway, all you have to do is 1, be subscribed to the channel, and 2, just leave a comment with a book emoji, and I will enter you into the contest. A winner will be picked when I am at 250 subscribers. I will probably include this giveaway in other videos with the same criteria, so you can be entered more than once. You just have to keep watching my videos to see which other ones are going to be included in the giveaway, and obviously stay subscribed. And the faster I get to 250 subscribers, the faster I give this away. Back to Age of Myth. My final review ended up being 3.5 to 4 stars. It was decent. I liked the plot. The pacing was never dragging. It never really hooked me and was like, oh, what happens next? The characters were pretty good, and you did get an introductory class into what this world is about and what to expect in the next 5 series. So overall, it's my least favorite of the Michael J. Sullivan books I've read, but Rhaenyra Revelations and Rhaenyra Chronicles are 2 of my favorite series. So this being my least favorite, that's not really saying much because of how much I like the rest of them. So my scoring system came out with a score of 76 out of 100, which puts it tied for 10th out of 15 books total that I've done this reviewing system with, and it's tied with Peace Talks from the Dresden Files and Guns of the Dawn by Adrian Tchaikovsky. So it's not a bad book by any means, just not one of my favorites. So that's it for the review. Don't forget to take the time to subscribe if you're not already subscribed, and leave a comment with a book emoji to enter into the contest. And until next time, bye.